springing back from rejection in 3 simple steps. We appreciate the interest you've taken in meeting us. We are really impressed with your academic records. But we think your idea is really very good. But at the present moment, unfortunately, we think your project is very interesting. We think it has got great potential. But at the present moment, we are... sounds familiar? Now, this is some of the ways in which you face rejection and failure, right? And you go all fully charged, but you get hit by a rejection. What happens to you? Do you kind of collapse? Do you feel crushed? Do you get demotivated? Do you get into depression? Or do you face the rejection, process the rejection, and learn from the rejection? So, if you can figure out how to face, how to process, how to learn from the rejection, you'll be successful in whatever you want to do. Now, what makes me an expert? Well, I spent the last 40 years of my work life in different industries. A large part of it was in advertising, where I ran a very large agency. And as some of you will know, in advertising and in any marketing services, rejection is a standard operating procedure. You get rejected internally, your idea gets rejected by your clients, and of course, your ideas may bomb in the marketplace. Consumers may reject it. And of course, after a long career in advertising and marketing, the last 5 years, I've been a coach and mentor to startups and to CXO level people. So I've observed a lot of my coachees struggle with rejection, struggle with failure. And based on all the studies I have done and the people I've talked to, the books I've read, I figured out rejection is common and there is a fairly simple way of handling rejection. 3 steps: facing rejection, processing rejection, and learning from rejection. So let's start with how do you face a rejection. Obviously, when you're applying for a job, you got to go fully prepared. You got to have that confidence you're going to get this job. Or when you're approaching a VC with a proposal, you should go fully prepared. So, you will land the check from the VC. But at the back of your mind, you got to have a plan B and a plan C. At the back of your mind, you should be clear that, I may get rejected. In which case, what am I going to do? So let me pull back and take you to a story of my own life when I was a young engineering student and a senior, and I was looking for a job, and I applied to this very reputed company called Hindustan Lever, which is part of Unilever. And I was a chemical engineer, applied for the job. 40 of us had applied, and in that interview, I got thrown out within the first 10 minutes because I could not answer a very simple question. I discovered it was such a simple question. I was really unprepared for that interview. This was 1978, but in 1978, a year later, when I was in my business school, again, I was applying to Hindustan Lever. This time it was for a summer internship job. And I was well prepared. I was a good student and I had done my studies. I was very well prepared. So out of the 40, 50 people who applied, first round, second round, I got shortlisted. There was only 2 people. The final shortlist, I thought I will get it. I didn't get it. That was a big blow. I probably didn't sleep that night. But the next day when I started thinking, I realized that I need to rethink this. I cannot allow a rejection or a second rejection to kind of crush me. So I said I need to do something else. I discovered that I could get a summer assignment in a new industry called advertising, which was coming up in India in the late 70s. And I joined an ad agency which was run by MBAs, and I built my career in advertising. So in a sense, I used the rejection to redirect my own approach to what I want to do with my career. So that is the first. Learn to face rejection. And remember, when you are facing rejection, it's not you. You've not been rejected. Your CV has been rejected. Maybe your proposal has been rejected. Maybe your idea has been rejected, but you've not been rejected. So remember, don't take the rejection personally. So that's the first step, which is facing rejection. The next is processing rejection. Now you've been hit by rejection. You need to make sure that it's not you. So you take the rejection out and put it in the middle and start going around the rejection, trying to understand what happened, what really went wrong there. Okay, and when you start going around, you start figuring out, what was the mechanics, how you could have done it better. Now, maybe you may not be able to analyze it. Probably you'll have to find a coach or a mentor to help you. So let me give you some names. Jeffrey Archer, J.K. Rowling, Stephen King, Jack Cranfield, and in India, Amish Tripathi. What links all these people? Yeah, they've sold millions of copies of books. But one thing which links all of them is that they were all rejected by publishers. Not once, twice, many, 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 many times. But how did they continue to struggle and continue to go at it and continue to finally win? A story from Stephen King's life, when he was living in a trailer park, teaching in a school, trying to write a novel, and he was sending his manuscript. They were coming back rejected. And one day he had sat, worked for a couple of hours, and he took the paper, whatever he had typed out, he put it in the dustbin, and he went out for a walk. When he came back, his wife told him, wife had pulled out those sheets of paper and she had read those stories. And she said, hey, Stephen, now sit down. This is your story. Write it. And she made him sit down and write that story. That became a multi-million-dollar seller called Carrie, and it also became a huge movie. So that's in the area of publishing, right? Writing. Well, let's take another area of startup. There's a startup called Saral Designs. They make very good quality sanitary napkins. They also make the machinery for those sanitary napkins, and these are sold basically to lower income consumers. Now, this is a passion project of Suhani Mohan and Kartik Mehta, alumnus of IITs, and they had made a prototype, raising some funds from friends and relatives, and they started pitching to VC firms. They kept pitching. 100 VC firms. All of them said no. So, fortunately for them, and they were called to a conference in California, where a lady met them, saw their presentation, took them aside and said, look, you're doing it all wrong. You're not a normal startup. You are an impact startup. So you need to re-pitch, you need to rework your whole deck. Fortunately, they listened to her very carefully, they rewrote the deck, and then they started pitching to impact investment companies. They hit pay dirt, right? So 100 pitches, 0 checks. They then pitched to 10 impact investment companies, and they managed to get a check from 4 of them, right? So that's the power of processing and also using a mentor to help you navigate this whole journey of rejection. So we saw facing, we saw processing. Now let's look at learning. Now if you do the same thing and expect different results, you are probably insane, said Einstein. Now, we all know that if you do the same thing, you will get the same result. So every rejection, we need to learn, and we need to see what went right, what went wrong, and improve ourselves. So let me tell a story about advertising, right? So we had been invited to pitch for a very large auto company called Hyundai, which was coming into India in the year 1997. And 5 agencies had been called. We went and we presented, and we thought we had done a good job. But when we walked out, we realized it had not gone well. And we realized, we sat and brainstormed, said, look, we are not going to succeed in winning a car account if we don't do enough due diligence, if you don't understand what we need to do. So we need to think more. We need to do more homework. And we started reading up, started studying, started getting involved in understanding the car business. So fortunately for us, a year later, we got invited by Tata Motors to pitch for their car business. This time, we were prepared. 15 agencies pitched for the business. We came out on top. The luck was that Tata Motors account became much bigger than what Hyundai would have been otherwise. So in a sense, we were fortunate. We got rejected, but we learned from the rejection. We became better, and then we got Tata Motors. It turned out to be our number 1 account. So very often, rejection, you can learn from rejection, become a lot better. So academics know this, right? And they submit papers to peer-reviewed journal. You get rejected, you get accepted. And someone who's a computer scientist in California told me this. He had got 20 papers published in the last 3 years in various top conferences. Out of that, 15 had been accepted for shot, but 5 had been rejected. But the truth is, the papers which won the best paper award were those 5 which had been rejected once or twice. So remember, like in the case of Hyundai and Tata Motors, a rejection, and if you learn from the rejection, maybe you will end up hitting it even better. So just to summarize, facing rejection, it's not about you. Don't take it personally. Processing rejection, try and go around the rejection and understand it. And use a mentor if you can. And third, learn. Don't do the same thing again and again. Learn from the rejection. So if you can face, process, learn, no rejection, no failure, no setback is going to push you back. You're always going to come springing back, springing forward after every rejection. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, strength doesn't come from physical quality, it comes from indomitable will. Thank you.